Today we're talking about protein powders, how to choose them and how to use them. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you may know that I filmed this video back in 2019, walking you through all of the protein powders that I use, but I thought it was time to do an update for you because some of the protein powders that I use have changed. And so what I'm going to do today is talk you through everything I'm using at the moment. I'm going to talk about why I use each protein powder, how I use each protein powder, and I'm also going to talk about where I buy them because that's something I get asked about a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I will get back to you there. The other thing I wanted to say before we get started is that I'm going to be showing you a lot of the different things that I make with protein powder in this video. If you want some recipes like that, and if you want some help with your nutrition, I have an awesome meal plan. I'm going to link to it in the description of this video, and you can pop over to my website, femalefitnesssystems.com, and check it out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content, because I would love to see you here more often. So let's get right into the first protein powder. This is my favorite protein powder. It's the one I recommend most often to my clients. So the first protein powder I wanted to talk about is this Vega protein and greens. The reason I like this protein powder is because of its versatility. It has a great texture. It's a pea protein, but it also has some rice protein in it, and obviously it has the greens and stuff as well. And Vega is a huge company in the protein world, and I think they've just really worked on their supplements over time. Compared to any other plant-based protein I've ever tried, I think this has by far the best texture. It also has a pretty good flavor. I think the chocolate is probably the best chocolate flavor I've ever tried in terms of plant-based protein because it's not sickly sweet. And so for me, this is the protein powder that I recommend to my clients the most often because there's just so many things you can do with it. This is the protein powder that I use every morning in my protein oats. So I stir a little bit of it into my protein oatmeal, but I also use it in smoothies and sometimes in my baking. So I use it to make protein pancakes as well. It's just so versatile that if you are going to get one protein powder, this is the one I would recommend. Now the second protein powder I wanted to show you is this Vega Sport Protein. This is a pea protein powder, but it also has some other plant-based proteins in it. It has some alfalfa protein and some sunflower protein and some pumpkin seed protein. It also has some ingredients for recovery like turmeric and beetroot powder, but you don't taste them when you're using it. Now the reason I like having this one is because I actually like using it in my protein puddings. If you watched that original video from back in 2019, you'll know that different protein powders just work better for making different things because they all have different textures. And for me personally, I just prefer the texture of this in my protein puddings. And protein puddings are something that I have a lot because they're so quick and they're often a great substitute when I don't feel like cooking animal protein. So for example, a lot of time in the winter, I'll have soup for lunch, and rather than throw chicken in it or cook some eggs on the side, I'll have a protein pudding for dessert, and that's a way to hit my protein in that meal without having to do so much in the kitchen. The other way that I like using this is in the evening when you're craving something sweet, you can mix up a little dessert with it. And I often recommend that to my clients. In fact, if you have my meal plan, that recipe is in the meal plan, so you can check that out. Now, I forgot to let you know where I get this Vega protein, but I buy them both off of iHerb because iHerb's great. It ships pretty much everywhere in the world, and a lot of my clients buy it off iHerb as well. But of course, if you're in North America, you can find Vega pretty much everywhere. I think you can even get it at Walmart, so it's pretty easy to find. So those are my two probably favorite plant-based protein blends, but I'm going to show you now a couple of other things that I use as well. Okay, so now I want to show you something that is new in my regime. So I am actually using whey protein again. Now, I started using whey protein back when I originally started weight training because it's known to be the best protein for helping you build muscle. And back then that was my main priority. So I used the whey protein post-workout pretty much every time I trained. Now, over the years, I just went off using whey protein. I've been eating more plant-based, so I've been mainly sticking to the plant-based proteins. However, recently, as many of you know, I had a major surgery. And in preparation for that surgery, I wanted to make sure absolutely everything with my nutrition was in line, and part of that was making sure that my protein was really high. And one thing in particular that's been shown to help with recovery is actually whey protein. So when I found out I was having surgery, I contacted Mike at Reactiv supplements here in New Zealand because I knew that he had really high quality whey proteins, and I wanted to see what he recommended for me to make sure that I had the best possible recovery and outcomes from my surgery. And he recommended his Primal whey range. And that's because they are some of the least processed whey proteins you'll find. According to Mike, these are as close to nature as possible when it comes to a whey protein. That has to do with how they're processed in the factory. As I understand it, a lot of whey proteins go through an instantization process where something is bonded to them to make them more easily dissolvable. And Mike doesn't do that to his Primal wheys, so he says that makes them as close to raw as possible or as close to nature as possible. Pre and post surgery, what I did was have a big whey protein shake every day. I like to mix whey with something quite strong flavored because it helps disguise a bit of the milkiness that you can get when you're using a whey protein, a bit of the milky taste. And so I would either blend it with berries or something strong flavored like the cacao powder or maca powder. And if you are interested in whey, even if you haven't had surgery, there are some other reasons to take it. So a good quality whey protein like Mike sells can be really good for immunity. And for us ladies, it can actually be a source of calcium as well. The other thing is that I think that, as we get older, it gets harder to build and retain muscle, and it really can't hurt to have a very high quality protein in the mix. And of course, obviously, I buy this from Mike here in New Zealand, and I think he ships to Australia as well. If you're overseas, you actually can find New Zealand whey in a lot of places. I know when I was back in Canada the last time, I was surprised by how many places carry a New Zealand whey protein. It might not be a Primal whey, but if you're interested in whey protein overall, you can check that out and just choose something that's high quality, that doesn't have a lot of artificial flavors in it like the ones that you buy in the fitness stores, and you should be fine. Now, the next one that I wanted to show you is hemp protein. And hemp protein, I would say, is pretty trendy at the moment. You're starting to see it more and more most places you go. And I buy this one from the supermarket, so that's how common it is. The reason that I'm using the hemp protein is that it has a lot of health benefits. So it's high in omega-3s, and it has gamma linoleic acid. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's a type of fatty acid that's hard to get in your diet, and hemp protein is actually a source of it. And the gamma linoleic acid, we'll just call it GLA, is good for things like PMS, for your mood, for arthritis, for your heart. So it's just overall good for reducing inflammation. And I just personally really like the flavor of hemp protein. I love the texture that it gives to my smoothies. It has a slight nuttiness to it and a slight grittiness, and I think it just makes the smoothies have a little bit more something, if that makes sense. And I like that it's green. To me, it's like sort of like a green powder. And the other reason that I like it is that it's just less processed. It's sort of like the whey protein in that there's nothing else added to it. So to me, it just feels like a nice, healthy protein powder. So the way I use this one is simply in a smoothie. It's one of my go-to snacks in the afternoon. Occasionally I'll throw some other protein powder in there, like I might add some whey protein depending on if I've had it in the day or not, or I might add a little bit of one of the Vega protein powders for some flavor. The hemp protein actually also is really great if you make protein balls. I think it gives them a nice texture. It makes them a little bit less gummy. So sometimes if I'm making protein balls, I'll add a little bit of hemp protein in them as well. And as I mentioned, I buy this one from the supermarket here. So if you are in New Zealand or Australia, you can buy this in the supermarket, this brand in particular. But if you're in North America, you can easily find hemp protein everywhere. Like I know back in Canada, I think hemp protein was on the shelves so much earlier than you could find it here in New Zealand and Australia. So there are plenty of good brands out there to try. Now the final protein powder I wanted to talk about is this Noway collagen. And if you follow my YouTube channel, you may have seen me talk about it before. So the deal with collagen. Now, I don't take collagen for skin reasons. I'm not 100% sold on the research, and I'm not 100% sold on collagen overall if you get enough protein in your diet. However, I like having it just because it's nice to have a wide range of protein powders, and this collagen protein in particular makes things really fluffy, and so for me that's just yummy, and that is the reason that I use it. So if you've watched my YouTube channel at all, you've probably seen me make collagen fluffs, and if you have my over 40 program, you'll have my longevity recipe book, and there is a collagen fluff recipe in it. All I do is I take some slightly frozen berries, a bit of banana, and a serve of the collagen protein, and I blend it up until it goes fluffy. And it's one of my favorite snacks, and sometimes I'll use it in place of that protein pudding that I talked about earlier after a meal. So I'll have my lunch, for example, and then I'll just mix up a collagen fluff for dessert, or sometimes I'll have it for a snack in the afternoon, maybe with some rice crackers on the side with some walnut butter or something spread on them. So that's how I use the collagen protein, and that's why I have it in my diet, simply because it's yummy, not necessarily because I think it's going to help my skin. And the place that I get this is just off of most sports websites here in New Zealand. This is an Australian brand. Now, I've tried other collagen proteins before and they've actually upset my stomach, so I can't recommend any other collagen protein powders. But the good news is that I had a look before doing this video, and these guys actually have a US website. So if you're based in the US and watching this video and interested in this protein powder, you potentially could find it there. And if you do find it, leave a message in the comments because other people might be looking for it as well. So that's it. Those are the protein powders that I'm using at the moment. As I said, leave me messages and questions in the comments. I love hearing from you there. Check out my meal plan if you want some other ideas for how to use protein powder. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.